Hey there guys, Video Psych here. It's been a bit, of course, since I made the last video, and I had a bit of a break, so I decided why not. And one thing I want to talk about is, I would say for a long time actually, is that just the sheer amount of people that just seem to act like they need help or they're in distress, and yet every time you try to talk to them about how things work, or you try to talk to them or just help them in any fashion, I would say. It just seems like they keep on going down into the spiral of, oh, everybody needs to listen to me and everybody needs to pay attention to me and blah, blah, and hear what I have to say. And I think that I'm owed something and blah, 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 which, that's just not how, you know, things really work. It's nice to sometimes think that we are owed something, but just because something bad happens to us doesn't always necessarily means that we're owed something. And that's just the way it is. Just like the way that things have happened bad to me that are bad throughout my life, but I didn't really get anything out of it. At least 99% of the time. I mean, what can I say? And I mean, the incels, I remember on my channel, of course, and that got to a point where it's like over and over again. I actually was just trying to tell them how things worked in the US with relations and relationships, and not only that, but getting laid and stuff like that. And I remember even talking to this one incel, they're talking about how so many guys in the US, blah, blah, don't get laid. But then they always talked at the same time, they always talked about how many men got laid instead of them. And it was just kind of like, you're like, something's not right here. So you're saying like two different things here. One, you're saying not enough men are getting laid. And then two, you're saying all these other men are getting laid except for you. Like, pick one. You're kind of contradicting yourself here. But not only just the incels, of course, not wanting to really help. Those guys are just a bunch of jackasses, usually. But also other people that I've met in my life as well. And, of course, you have to be careful of the people that just try to take advantage of you. And, they aren't actually looking for help. They are just looking for a handout. Of course, we have seen some homeless that are like this, where it's like, oh, I need some help, but really all you're doing is giving them money for drinking. And then sometimes they're like, oh, I'm so poor, but then you look at their shoes and they have a better pair of shoes than you have. It's like, yeah, you aren't doing so bad, are you? And then they try to act like, oh, I believe in Jesus and blah, blah. They don't believe in God and Jesus. Give me a fucking break. And some of them have probably been homeless for at least a decade and have done almost nothing about it. And, there are some things like I won't ever make anybody do anything, but it's just a fundamental fact that people have to work to some capacity to live. And, for people like that, it's just like, I mean, geez. I mean, you've just done absolutely nothing with your life. And then you want to act like, oh, feel for me and in how homeless I am and blah, blah. I mean, it's just like, man, like, grow the fuck up, you know? It's probably the simplest way I can put it. But, oh my God. And there's another group of people I was going to talk about. I mean, and also I'd say for the most part, the most people that have come to my channel in the past is, of course, the people wanting information about love dolls. But, there's a reason why I, of course, stopped making as many. It also wasn't, of course, just for personal reasons. Like, one of them was also because, like, I didn't want to only be known as, like, the doll fucker or, the doll guy, And it always made me laugh about some of these guys that would come to my channel acting like a love doll professional or whatever, or a doll fucker, as I guess I'll call it, just for laughs. Because it's just like, hey, doll professional here. Uh, It's like I have something to say about what you said, and I'm gonna blah blah blah. It's like whatever. Go ahead. It's like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Mister Professional Doll Fucker. I don't care. But that's kind of the thing that they think about. Love doll owners is they just see us as doll fuckers or people that are trying to replace women. And of course, there also are the people that are mature enough, outside of the internets that understand, hey, these people aren't like that, and these are just sex toys and blah blah. But especially when it comes to the internet, it's just kind of an outrage sometimes, and there's still plenty of people sometimes that bring up the stereotypes. And then, of course, there's a time not long ago somebody was trying to claim like I was some kind of pedophile. And of course, I deleted this comment because I'm like, yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with this shit. But, it just seemed like, and here's the kind of the other reason why I stopped doing it as much. I still won't be making them. But the thing is, it just seems like, these, some of these people that are kind of, I would say, shut-ins. It just seems like these people don't want help. And the only thing that they want help with is being more of a shut-in and away from society. They don't want to grow up. And, they don't want to get a job and blah, blah, or at least not work very much. And the reason why that is because sometimes people, I think, they have just kind of in their minds given up. Like, oh, well, I'll never be successful like my father was, or oh, no, I'll never be successful, period. And I'll never be able to get my dream like I wanted to in my dream job and blah blah blah. Well, the thing is, most of our parents, even our parents, actually didn't get their dream jobs, to be honest. And they just worked at the same job for like fucking 30 years after they got out of high school. That's actually the only difference, is that minimum wage, etc., just hasn't kept up. And so we just aren't able to afford the same things that our parents were able to. And we also are not going to be able to have the same types of benefits and security that our parents had. That's the only difference. I mean, that's at least a few differences, but you know what I'm saying. But, that issue is something that we have to overcome. We have to grow up and overcome this issue that has occurred after our parents have, had their careers and such. But, you also got to figure out the fact that, again, we are not entitled to anything. Again, like I said earlier. And so what's going to happen eventually is at least a couple of things. One, they're just going to keep on taking away our security and jobs and blah, 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 and our pay, and making it to where we can't live our stable lives on average. Or two, we're finally going to get to a point where we are fed up with how we're getting paid and everything, which we kind of did in 2020. But it's going to happen again because people are going to get really tired of the way rent is. And we're going to have to start fighting for, less rents to pay for. Because, it is just beyond ridiculous how much more money it costs just to live in a single bedroom apartments that 2 to 3 people can't even have enough money to fork out for to live in for one bed. And again, you're going to have to kind of get out of the state of where, you just feel like, oh, I can't do anything. Like, I mean, I remember I was like that at one point, kind of, but I managed to quickly get out of it because I realized what was going on, And, we're just going to have to keep on living. We're going to have to continue fighting for the things that we need. And that's just it. We're going to have to grow up. We can't just be a shut-in forever. And that's one of the things I've tried to teach my channel. But it just seems like I'm only helping that issue of people being a shut-in. And so eventually I got to the point where I was just like, let's make these videos still, but let's just slow down a bit, But we're pretty much are at the 10-minute mark here. And so I'll just end this video here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.